Today I'd like to share a little something different. This isn't one of Eleanor's and Grace's letters. It's a letter I found myself writing this week. I wasn't sure it belonged in the quiet archives, but the more I prayed about it, the more I realized it probably did. Dearest Eleanor and Grace, I realize how impossible this letter must seem. You lived in another century, walked a different path, and tended gardens I shall never see with my own eyes. By the time I send this letter, over 100 years will have passed. When I write the letter, Friday has not yet arrived. I shall undergo surgery, something I've prayed about, something I've tried to prepare myself for, and something I am still frightened of. There is a particular loneliness that accompanies the waiting. One may be surrounded by the loving family and faithful friends, yet there remains moments when only the Lord truly understands the thoughts that settle quietly upon the heart. You have often wrote that the roots perform their greatest work beneath the soil, where no one can witness their labor. Those words have remained with me. I have repeated them to myself more than once or twice this past week. Perhaps this too is a season beneath the surface, a season in which the Lord is strengthening roots I cannot see yet. I confess, I would rather skip ahead to the chapter where healing has already begun. I would rather know the outcome than practice trust. Yet your letters have gently reminded me that gardeners do not pull upon the roots to hurry the bloom. They wait, they water, they believe, and somehow blossoms come. My family carries a long history of this disease. My mother, my grandmother, my 3 sisters, my aunt, and my cousin. I sometimes wonder what they would say if we could gather around one table and speak openly of strength and courage. Per- Perhaps they would simply tell me what I have been telling others all along. Remain rooted. When I began creating the quiet archives, I thought I was preserving beautiful papers. Now I believe I was preserving reminders. Reminders that faith has always been passed from one heart to another, from one letter to the next, from one generation to those still to come. If the Lord grants me many more years, I pray He does. I hope one day my children will discover these letters and know that their mother was not fearless. She simply held. That is enough to just hold and trust. So shall I carry your words with me on Friday? Not because they remove my fear, but because they remind me where my roots have always been, deep in the love of Christ. If in some mysterious ways letters truly outlive those who write them, then perhaps this one may rest quietly beside yours, not because it belongs to your century, but because it belongs to the same gardener. With gratitude for a friendship that has somehow crossed time itself, love Esther, researcher and keeper of the quiet archives. I almost kept this letter to myself, but I also knew I was probably not the only person who has been afraid while trying to trust in God. Sometimes faith isn't the balance of fear. Sometimes faith is simply choosing to place that fear in God's hands and taking the next step anyway. If you're walking through a season of waiting, uncertainty, grief, illness, or hope, I want you to know that you're not alone. If you ever like to write a letter to the quiet archives, a letter of faith, a letter of testimony, a prayer, or something on your heart, you are welcome to, because I believe God often comforts us through the stories of others. You may sign your name or remain anonymous. Either is perfectly fine. There is room for your story in here. Thank you for praying for me this week. Whatever you're facing today, my prayer is the same for you as it is for myself, that we remain rooted in Christ even when the path ahead feels uncertain. As we close today's letter from the Quiet Archives, remember that even the smallest moments are worth preserving. Thank you for joining me. Until next Wednesday, may you walk in peace, create with joy, and trust that God is writing a beautiful story one day at a time.